biggest integer wins the sign. Is this the biggest integer or is this the biggest integer?
2.
7. Forget about the positive and negative. Which one's the bigger number?
7.
So that's what wins the sign. So the answer is going to be negative. And then we have a negative and we have a positive. If the thing that comes right before the number is opposite, you subtract them. So it's negative 5n plus 9. Does that make sense to you or no?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, the next one is when you have a negative and then a negative like this, you circle it and it becomes a positive. So here we have an n and an n. And these two go together, and then the 6 is all by itself. So we know the answer is going to be something n plus 6. Now we do the same thing. Which is the biggest integer, 5 or 3?
5.
So we know our answer is going to be positive, and then there's nothing before this, so that's a positive, and this is a positive, so we add the integers together. So it's 8n plus 6. Next one, E, is 4 minus n minus 6n. So I'm going to circle my two n's. Those go together. So this n is really a negative 1. So biggest integer wins a sign. What's bigger, 1 or 6?
6.
So that wins the sign, so our answer is negative. I circle what comes before it. They're the same, so I add the integers together. So it's 7n. There's nothing before this, so it's a plus 4.
Okay.
Next one is S. We have 16n minus 7n plus 5 plus 3. So these two go together, and these two go together. So we know it's plus 8, right? And something n. So biggest integer wins the sign. What's bigger, 16 or 7?
16.
So our answer is going to be positive. What comes before the 16 is a plus. What comes, or a positive, and this is a negative, so we subtract the integers if they're different. What is 16 minus 7? It's 9. So our answer is 9n plus 8. Hopefully, tell me when it starts to make more sense. We'll keep going and do more, but then I'm going to have you do it. So this one, we have these two are the same, and then plus 4. Nothing goes with plus 4, so I'm just going to write that in. We know it's something n. Biggest integer wins the sign. My biggest integer is a 12, and that's negative. And this is a positive, so 12 minus 5 is negative 7.
Okay, I think one more, then I think I can do it by myself.
Okay. So this is a negative and a negative together, so I circle it and it becomes a plus. Now I have a 7n and a 9n. Biggest integer wins the sign. My biggest integer is a 7, so it's positive. I have a positive and a positive, so I add these together. So it's positive 9n plus 8. Number 10, 9 minus n minus 4n. This is a 1. Biggest integer wins the sign. This and this go together. My biggest integer is 4, so my answer is negative. I circle what comes before. They're both positive, so I add the integers together. Negative 5n plus 9. I'll do the last one. 11n plus 5 plus negative 3n plus 1. This and this go together. Biggest integer wins the sign. My biggest integer is an 11. It's positive. I have a positive and a negative, so I subtract. So it's 8n, and then this and this go together. Positive and positive. Biggest integer wins the sign. I have a positive and a positive. Positive and a negative. Wait, is this a positive? Mm-hmm. It's a positive. So we add our integers together. It's 8n plus 6.
Okay.
All right, so you can do set 2. And just tell me what you get for each one. So I, go ahead and solve it.
Okay. Sometimes I have a hard time for the ones that have like the ones that have parentheses, but like some of them have 2.
So we don't care about this thing. We care what comes exactly before the integer. That's all we care about. So this 9b and 3b go together, right? So you would do biggest integer wins the sign. What's my biggest integer?
9.
So my answer is positive, and then I have a positive and a negative. So do I add or subtract my 9 and 3?
You add.
I have a positive and a negative.
You subtract.
Yep, and what is 9 minus 3?
Wait, what did you say?
What is 9 minus 3?
6.
So it's 6b, and then I have a negative and a positive. Biggest integer wins the sign, so my answer is negative. I have a positive and a negative, so I subtract 18 from 18 from 11, and it is 7. All right, go ahead and try set 2e.
Okay, is E, for E I got plus 3b plus 3.
No. So biggest integer wins a sign. So find out what your integers are for b. What are you combining for b?
I combine 12b and 3b.
Biggest integer wins the sign, so is your answer positive or negative?
Negative.
And then you have a positive and a negative, so do you add or subtract your 12 and your 3?
Add.
So are you following my technique that I just showed you?
Yeah.
So did you circle what comes before the 12 and the 3?
This before the 12 and the 3, isn't it the negative and the positive?
Yeah, and if they're different, do you add or subtract the integers?
You go with the biggest sign.
Yeah, and then you circle what comes before each of the numbers. So you have a negative and a positive. Do you add or subtract?
You add.
If they're different, you add them?
You subtract.
Yeah, so it's 12 minus 3. What is 12 minus 3?
9.
So it's negative 9b. And then you do the same thing for the 5 and the 8. Biggest integer wins the sign. So is it the 5 or the 8?
The 8.
Yep, so it's negative. And then what comes before the negative 5 and the negative 8? They're both the same, so you add the integers together. So take the steps that I'm taking, and it'll help you a lot. So what are you circling for the t, for the next one? What do you have together?
I'm gonna write it down. So first, we have to look at the sign for 7b and 2b, and they're the same, so we add. So
They're not the same because you have to, you have a negative next to a negative, so you have to circle it and make it into a positive.
yeah, that's what I said, you add it.
I still don't think you're getting my technique, so let me do it again. So you have 7 minus 7b plus 10 minus negative 2b. So the first thing you do is you change this into an addition. Are you doing this part? This is super important to do. So you can do circles go together, triangles or squares or whatever, but make them different. So these two circle terms go together. Now tell me what you would do here. Negative 7b plus 2b.
You know, first you have to find the base integer,
Okay?
and it's 7b,
Yep.
and then that wins the sign, so wouldn't it be negative?
Yep.
And then you have to subtract them,
Yep.
so then it would be negative 5b.
Yep. And then what do I do for the 7 and the 10?
You add them?
Why do you add them?
Oh, wait. Well, my math teacher just said after the 5b, you always put a plus sign.
No. You misunderstood that. It could be minus. It depends on what wins the sign. So you have a positive and a positive. So for this one, it is a plus because it's going to be 7 plus what?
10.
Mm-hmm.
So then it would be plus 17.
Mm-hmm. But if it was a negative, if it was a negative 7 and a negative 10, then it would be minus 17. So I think you misunderstood that. Okay, next one. Go ahead and do the next one and tell me what you get, and I will do it off camera.
The next one is C, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.